pull him out, put him in this barn. Barn scene is just as funny.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, because he wakes up. And then Joyce is like,
of course, she's naturally mad
he said
about
he
it.
ate 2 slices of pie, and she's like, he did.
A lot of resilience in that one.
Kid. So she's like, he should be out. Like, what's going on?
He's awake now. You worked through all that pie already.
Because they talk about there's so many variables, like how much they've had to eat that day, how much they've drank that day, how old they are, their body, like weight,
BMI
and
all that.
yeah, all that stuff. And so the fact that he just like shakes that off real quick, it's barely got like 30 minutes.
So he wakes up. Joyce, being the motherly type, tries to go over and talk him down. And she's like, "I'm gonna untie you, okay? Just promise that you'll act nicely." He goes, "Okay, sure." She unties him. He totally takes out the whole crew. Flips. He just flips out. Runs up the ladder, kicks over the ladder. He's sitting up in the loft, and they're all like trying to plead him down because they're like, "You're actually in danger. A monster's coming. We're not kidding. You need to come down." Eventually, the monster actually comes. So this is the part that finally settles in to what I guess we wanted to get into.
Well, a couple of things first. I do think we got to cover some of the jokes that have been coming up.
Okay.
So, because it's interesting, and I don't want to like end on that note, and I don't know if I have too much to say. But I do think at least one joke is pretty interesting. So when Erica shows up at the house, she rings the doorbell, and the shot is from the interior.
Mm-hmm.
And the mom is like, "Okay, Derek, go wash your hands. Tina, go answer the door." And she's like, "And be nice, unless it's a Mormon or a Democrat." And I thought that was a really interesting choice of a joke.
It was.
The Mormon
because they
one,
do not expound on it at all.
No,
It's not talked about it anymore.
Right.
That's it.
So like, on the one hand, like the Mormon one is like, okay, yeah, Mormons, you're going to take that joke because everybody finds it very annoying when you come, knocking on our doors trying to get us to join your
they're
religion.
going to be pushy, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and, people don't want that solicitation. So then when she passes it on, includes Democrats in that equation, the interesting thing about this is you don't usually see that. In fact, in recent years, I've seen a lot of media that will take pot shots at conservatives or Republicans.
Sure.
So this was like the inverse of that. And I thought, well, that's a curious choice. On the one hand, if I'm to dig a little deeper into it, we could say that the characters, this is not a super nice family. So perhaps like it's not meant to be taken that way. But I would disagree with it because the way she presents it, it's very clearly like this is just a joke for the audience that she's throwing out there. It only really makes sense realistically because it is Indiana, but also this is the 80s, so this is Reagan era.
This is late 80s too, I think. It's like 87 or something like that.
Yeah, the sentiments towards Democrats at that time was not very nice because Jimmy Carter had really, really roughed up the economy. So everyone was just like not interested in what they're selling. So in the context of the time, it makes sense. But I thought it's interesting because, I mean, isn't that all of Stranger Things? It's like they reference something from the past, from the 80s, but then they bring it up to the present, and then it has to have some kind of
we're viewing from the prism of the present. So, like, it's inevitably going to have double meanings.
Yeah.
So that was why we were trying to, like, we're probably overthinking this far too much. But at the same time, it was like, seems like a very intentional couple of words here.
Right.
Like Mormons and Democrats. Like, because there's obviously a bunch of political upheaval right now, where they have a bit of a negative view at the moment.
Right.
But also, like, both sides kind of have a negative view. But it was interesting that she mixes it with Mormons, because Mormons are inherently conservative, but they are inherently annoying too when they come to your door. And so it's like, what? It was just an interesting one to, like, want to delve into, because it felt so intentional, but also it felt like it's something you could just throw in there and people would just think about it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you don't really have to add any more meaning to this. They should just, because it was coming from... You don't have any context of the mom, but you have context of the kids, specifically Derek. So you can add in, like, I guess, some of their intentions by what the kids believe or how they act. Because they're like a rich, upscale, bratty family. Like, obviously, Derek has a very negative reputation around his peers.
Yeah, and like he's got like a full-on arcade cabinet in his room. That's super expensive. The dad has like 2 massive wine racks, and he's like,
he's got a whole wine cellar.
So he's got a whole cellar dedicated to that. So you're like, all right, they're pretty well off.
Anyway, kind of an odd tangent, but it was something that was like, I wonder what we were going for here. But all right.
Yeah, I thought it was, if nothing else, I kind of like what you're saying about they're just pointing out, like, I hesitate to say, like, the extreme side of groups and just being like, those are the annoying ones. Because to lump all Democrats into that is obviously too much and unfair. But that is partly the narrative climate of what's going on right now. Is just like that they've lost the plot and that they've gone way too far into the progressive movement of things, and that's what's hurt their particular image, right?
Could be if it has a double meaning. I mean, who knows? It might have been just a throwaway line that they thought was funny.
But why
that's
would
it.
they think that was funny? Because that's the thing,
Well, because
right?
it is relevant to both ages. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because that was the whole thing. Like I remember when I was watching The Good Place, and there was this joke in the last season that came out somewhere in the early 2020s, and I think that's when it came out, anyways. And they have this joke attacking just how like people who don't believe in vaccines are just like the most insane, ludicrous people on the planet. And I remember that joke coming across, and it was like, it's the reflection of what's happening in the present climate. Because in the old days, like in the 80s, you wouldn't really pay attention to that quite as much. You'd pay attention to like box office sales.
Sure.
That matters.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But nowadays it's very different, and your success rate is kind of ubiquitous. It's really hard to shift through all that and see exactly what's working. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't have like a deeper thing to comment on the matter. I just thought it was a very interesting choice, especially given that there are left-leaning tendencies in Stranger Things. Not heavily, but there's definitely a decent number of them, specifically with Robin. I think we pointed out before. So yeah, I thought it was nice to see them, I guess. If they were just poking fun at themselves or just willing to poke fun at anybody, then I'm for it.
Well,
I
the
think
best comedy is the one that doesn't really hold back on any group for any reason. Just
yeah,
it has no holds bar. That's the point.
yeah.
Okay, so then I guess we'll go to one that didn't quite land. It was weird, and that was there's a scene where Murray and Nancy are interacting, and Murray is trying to convince Jonathan to up his game because Nancy's clearly conflicted on who she's interested in with Jonathan or Steve. And so he's like conspiring with Jonathan a very short distance behind Nancy, and Nancy is picking up certain things, and so she makes a comment about how she's a good shot and she can shoot small sacks at a long distance.
The potato sacks that they're carrying.
Yeah, that's what she's meaning for sure. It was a very odd and out of place joke. Felt like they were trying too hard.
On and on and on with
it. And it lasted too long. He decided that it was a good time to explain that his sacks weren't small to Jonathan, who's like much, much younger than he is. It was just odd. So a couple of bits of humor that I guess didn't land. Some of the things we weren't so stoked about with Stranger Things.
Well, I mean, I feel like I want to say they've done this before because it comes up again, which is why we're bringing it up. A different joke, but similar type, where Robin's talking about
Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Yeah, and then of course, obviously, you make the connection there, and that joke goes on for way too long as well. It's just like on and on and on. And then there's something Lucas says that doesn't even really make sense. It's just like,
so it seems like in the writers' room they used that reference and then thought it was funny how it could be taken, and then they just wrote down all the ways it could be taken, and then they just put them all in the show. I was like, you could have just thrown all these out. Like, it's funny in the writers' room, but why would you keep them all? It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, we went a little too far with the sex jokes, but outside of that, humor's been pretty good.
I guess it makes sense because it's not technically a kid's show because of all the horrific elements in it.
No, you got a bunch of kids cussing and stuff. I mean, it's always been an older show, but still, it's lowbrow humor. It just,
yeah. Okay. But what the interesting thing that is discovered in that is that Jonathan is apparently preparing to propose, is what we discover.
Right.
He
gets a tape with R&B or jazz or whatever, and inside that is a ring, so he's supposed to play it and woo her and propose. They don't go anywhere else with that except for the fact that they have led, or they have presented the fact that Nancy is torn between, or at least it is believed that that's the case because of the previous season interactions with Steve. So Jonathan, this might be like his last ditch effort, or it might be something organic. We're not really sure. We can tell that he's upset at Steve for these macho games that he's putting him through. But that is something that is introduced. But again, it's not expounded upon any further. So
yeah,
just another thing in the show.
What do you think is going to happen with that? It's the last chance to convey some theories.
I think she's still getting back with Steve.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think because it's like the investment is wrong. It's not right. She's not going to say yes.
I think Jonathan's going to be one to break it off. I think he's finally going to give it up. That's just my theory.
Do you think either one will die?
I don't know.